We're at 300,000 subscribers and I love making these Q&A videos, but there are always some questions that come up that make me a little bit even uncomfortable, but I am going to be answering them today. First of all, thank you. We have reached over 300,000 subscribers on the Life While Cruised YouTube channel, and I could not be more grateful. Whether you have been a longtime subscriber or you've joined more recently, I genuinely appreciate so much that you are part of this community. Now, I definitely believe in celebrating these things, so I did make myself a little Aperol spritz. I have to say it's a little bit flat now. Unfortunately, I poured that a little while ago, but why not sit down, grab a coffee, grab a glass of wine, and let's chat for a while as we go through 30 questions and answers about cruising, about myself, personal life, and even a little bit of YouTube. And then I am going to share with you my next cruise that we are doing very shortly that I am very excited about. By the way, if you're new here, I'm Ilana from the website lifewellcruised.com. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. And I think you probably know the drill, but before we get started, if you find this video helpful, informative, or enjoyable in any way, then please do give this video a big thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed already, what are you waiting for? I would love to have you here as part of the Life While Cruised community. Let's get started. Number one, what cruises would you like to see me take and cover and review on this channel? Now, that's something that I asked my community, and those answers really are going to help me to plan some cruises in advance, and this way really sort of plan my cruises and my content over the next year and even beyond. Now, some of the cruises that came up and the cruise lines did surprise me. So Oceania was one of them. Another one was Norwegian Cruise Line, but in particular the newer ships, so Viva, Prima, and Aqua. Now, we also had requests for Viking, and even comparing Viking and other deluxe/luxury cruise lines to some of those mainstream cruise lines. River cruising, a lot of curiosity about that. That came up again and again. Disney Wish and other very family-orientated cruise lines. It seems like you'd like some content about that. And Margaritaville at Sea, which I have to say wasn't really on my radar, but I know they do have a new ship coming out. So we'll see, but that's always a possibility. Now, in terms of the destinations, I have a little spoiler alert. One of these destinations is actually going to be our next cruise, but some of the destinations that people have suggested that they would like to see is Galapagos, and by the way, expedition cruising, as well British Isles, the Norwegian fjords, Australia, and one of my favorites, I have been there, I think it is 9 times now, but Bermuda. Which brings me to my next question. Would I ever consider cruising with a luxury cruise line? Absolutely. I would definitely like to do that. And I think in particular, I like the idea of looking at the value of a luxury cruise line versus maybe even a premium cruise line. When you start to add up all of those different packages and the specialty dining and even all of the extra expenses for shore excursions, I think that there could be potentially a lot of value in a luxury cruise line, not just in terms of price, but in terms of experience. So I am definitely curious to try that and share it with you. Have I ever done a river cruise? No, we have not done a river cruise yet. And this is actually something that Frank and I have been wanting to do the last few years. It just hasn't been something that we've been able to plan yet. But in particular, I think I probably would love to do a Danube river cruise. I think the idea of the sightseeing in that area really does appeal to me. What is my bucket list cruise? I really think I have more than one bucket list, or let's just call it wish list cruise. And this could change every video, but right now river cruise is definitely on my list. But beyond that, it's probably Bora Bora and Tahiti. I am just craving those blues of the ocean. It just looks absolutely magnificent. Number 5. Now, I really like this question. If I were to redo my first cruise, taking it now, what would I do differently from the first time after knowing everything that I know now and what we've experienced? Well, one of them is I would take a balcony cabin. We had an interior cabin for our first cruise and had that for many years, and I don't think anything is wrong with that at all, especially if you don't plan to be in your cabin very much. However, I really do enjoy those views and that feeling of having a balcony. So that is probably something that I would do. I would also go to one specialty restaurant. I don't think more than one is really necessary, if you will, but I do think one specialty restaurant is a nice experience. I would also catch sunsets, but make the time for those sunrises. We've seen a few, usually on our balcony, and that is something pretty nice to wake up to. And in terms of excursions, I would prioritize the excursions where we actually got to experience something. So whether it was going in the mud baths in St. Lucia, or climbing Dunn's River Falls in Jamaica, or going on a catamaran excursion in Bermuda, or even doing a wine tasting, the times where I've really had experiences, those are some of my best memories. What made me fall in love with cruising? Now, I often say that there was a specific moment that we got hooked on cruising, and that was really at Sail Away. There was something, honestly, almost physical about the cruise ship leaving from the cruise port, leaving land and going out to sea, that it just felt relaxing. We were looking forward to the cruise ahead, and I felt like I was hooked then. But what really made me fall in love with cruising was the experience itself on the ship. The idea that I did not have to think about what I was going to plan for dinner. We could just go over to a restaurant and we could go and enjoy that. The fact that all of the shows were right there, that all of the times for relaxing by the pool or having fun at some of the different activities, it was all right there as part of our vacation. That was so appealing. And later on, because our first cruise was just me and my husband, but later on we brought our kids just about a year later, and realizing that this was just such an incredible family vacation where the kids could have these great experiences, from the dining room to meeting kids in the kids club to doing excursions together and exploring many different destinations. That was really what made me fall in love with cruising as a vacation. And something additional a little bit is that I think for most of us, we don't have the opportunity to go many different places every year. And being able to cruise gave us a chance to actually go to several different destinations, to get to know different people from different places in the world. Even if it was meeting them on the cruise ship, I think that that exposed us to a lot as our family was young and as our budget was a little bit tight. Cruising really gave us that opportunity. Okay, I have a couple of tough questions about cruise lines, but I am going to answer them honestly. What are my favorite cruise ships? Now, I always say I don't really have an absolute favorite, but I do have some that I particularly enjoy, and that will change and evolve over time and every year. But this year, my three favorite cruise ships are Enchanted Princess. I just particularly really love that cruise ship. Celebrity Beyond, and Holland America Rotterdam. In my opinion, what cruise line has the best entertainment? Oh, this is a hard question, but I have to say, I think it is Royal Caribbean, at least on their newer ships. But I do think, you have skating rinks, you have aqua shows, you just have an incredible amount of a variety of entertainment on everything from like the Freedom class to the Oasis class, and of course now on the Icon class, which I have not been on yet. But I just think that they are standouts in the entertainment category. Now I have another cruise line question, and I have to say I even thought about not including it in this video, but I did like the question, so I am going to answer that. But first, I did want to go over some practical questions. How do I know when my cabin is ready on embarkation day? And is this the same for every cruise line? Now, I could see how for first-time cruisers, this could be very confusing. So just to let you know, every cruise line is a little bit different, but there are a lot of similarities. Now, when you get onto the ship on embarkation day, some cruise lines are going to allow you to go to your cabin and drop off your carry-on bags. Most of the time, the cabins are only going to be ready after about 12:30 or 1 o'clock to actually go in and unpack. Sometimes it's even a little bit later than that. The way that you will know is typically there is going to be an announcement made over the intercom, or you may see that there are some doors that close off the hallway sometimes, that these doors are open. Should I be worried about sniffer dogs when I board my cruise? If you don't plan to take on anything onto the cruise ship that is not allowed, no, you should not be worried about that at all. And I imagine that at airports they have sniffer dogs at all. I have to say, out of all of the cruises that we've ever done, I've never come into contact with a sniffer dog. I have seen when we've walked over the gangway, I have seen sniffer dogs, or actually one specific sniffer dog that was around luggage, like below, sort of near the cruise ship. But that is all I have seen. I do remember about a year ago or so seeing some photos of sniffer dogs on cruise ships, but I have not personally seen this. Am I missing out by not using a travel agent? Well, you might be, because sometimes travel agents actually have lower rates than the cruise lines. At the very least, they have the same rate as the cruise line. They will never be charging more, but you may get some additional perks. And honestly, the biggest benefit of working with a travel agent is not only can you ask them questions and get their advice, but they're also going to be sharing information that you may not even know that you don't know. What is the most affordable cruise line for somebody who is on a budget? Now, this is one of those times that I think this is very subjective, because after all, it's more than price. You want to make sure that you really do choose a cruise experience that is going to suit you and make you happy. And this is one of those times that a travel agent can really help narrow things down for you. But beyond just the price of the cruise, there are many ways that you can save money on a cruise and really get the experience that you want. And sometimes even cruise lines that are typically more expensive may have, for whatever reason, a little bit of a lower price on certain dates. So that is always something to think about. But in terms of the most affordable cruise lines right now, I think some very good value cruise lines are Carnival and MSC. How do I avoid getting sick on a cruise? And in particular, getting a cold and that kind of stuff is what was asked. Well, I don't have any guarantee on this, but I do have something that has seemed to be working for me more recently, and that is taking Cold Ease. And of course, this video is not sponsored by Cold Ease, but I did start to take that a few months ago, especially like just before going on a cruise or traveling, to try to just keep my immune system up a little bit. I especially right before a cruise, I tend to pack late into the night. I tend to try to create a lot of content, so I am very busy in the week before the cruise, and sometimes I'm really quite exhausted. And I do think when that happens that we do have a tendency to perhaps have a lower immune system and increase our chances of catching different viruses. Okay, so let's talk about potentially dangerous cruise ports, and in particular some of the questions that I've been asked about this. So firstly, am I going to be unsafe if I go to Cozumel, Mexico? Now, personally, I do not feel unsafe when I go to Cozumel, Mexico. I actually really like Cozumel, Mexico, and I do go over to the beaches there. I've done excursions there, and I do think that when you go there, or really a lot of other places that you're not familiar with, stay within the tourist areas and take those regular precautions that you would anywhere else. Now, how is the water? How is the food to eat? So somebody who has an excursion booked is concerned, can I eat lunch as part of my excursion and feel safe in terms of what I'm eating? So if the cruise line is packaging an excursion with a restaurant, then yes, in my opinion, you can feel safe eating that food. And personally, I eat the food in Mexico at Paradise Beach as an example, or at some of the restaurants if they are recommended to me. A good rule of thumb, by the way, is if you are on the cruise ship and you're wondering about what restaurant to go to, you can always ask one of the crew members where they go, and even somebody in the shop, for instance, that's working, and they could give you some good advice, or just check the reviews even on Google for some good information. What activities do I like most to do on a cruise, and especially on a sea day? Now, I have to say, because we create content now versus vacationing only years ago, you know, there are times that I'm working, right? But in terms of a sea day, I still really just love relaxing by the pool. I also can be seen occasionally line dancing a little bit, like those cruise dances. I still really like that. I also enjoy some of the exercise classes, in particular, any of the pool exercise classes, or even sometimes the Zumba. Now, I have to say, funny story, a few years ago, I did actually participate in, I think it was a drink making competition. If I can find the video on my phone of that, it was before I started my blog, but I am going to include it in this video. All right, let's get to some personal questions, and as well, that one, I guess a little bit controversial question that I wasn't sure about including, but I will answer it. So, is my family sick of cruising? No, my family's not sick of cruising. It definitely has been something that we've integrated into our life. I could not be happier that we cruise and we create content and we have really a business around this. So it really is a dream come true. What is the most rewarding part of doing this job? So I could say going on cruises, or I could say having a lot of subscribers, but it honestly is not that at all. It genuinely is feeling like we are making an impact on people's lives. When people tell me that they went on their first cruise and that my tips or this channel help them to feel at ease on their first cruise, or other people tell me they've been on many cruises before, but some of our tips really help them to enjoy their cruise a little more, or when people tell me that they brought magnets on a cruise and it really helped them, or when people tell me that they tried out a new cruise line that they never thought of before and they really did enjoy it. All of that just really makes me feel good, and I'm just happy to have an impact. How has the cruise experience diminished since the pause, and what is one thing that cruise lines could do to improve it? Now, I do think that this is a really good question. I did think that in that first year after cruises came back, that one thing that sort of diminished was the food quality and even some of the service. And I do think that that had to do with supply issues, and that had to do, of course, with staffing. And you could really see that reflected in my videos from 2 years ago or so. Some of my videos definitely pointed to that in the reviews. I kind of felt that. But I have actually seen through this last year an improvement across every cruise line that we've been on. I think that the food has really improved, and I've seen improvements in the service as well. Now, that being said, the cruise experience, just like everything else, is evolving. But what is one thing that cruise lines could do to improve? What I think that they could do maybe a little bit better is sometimes just communicate a little bit better and listen a little bit more, especially to the people that are already fans of their cruise line. Now, of course, cruise lines do want to take advantage of the growing interest in cruising, in particular to attract new cruisers, but I do think it's really important to maintain, I guess, the identity of the brand, what people that are already existing cruisers have grown to expect, even as it does evolve and it attracts new passengers, and to maintain that value proposition, not necessarily in terms of price, but in terms of just making sure that people, when they do go on that cruise line, that they get really what they thought and more, so that experience is so good that all they want to do is book another cruise with that particular cruise line. Now, those are my thoughts, but let me know yours down in the comments below. How many cruises do we do a year? Well, last year we did 7 cruises. This year we did 4 cruises, and we'll see how the year goes. My goal is not to take as many cruises as possible, but don't compare yourself to me. And the reason I say this is because I oftentimes do read comments about that people wish they could go on as many cruises or even more cruises. But I do think if I was not doing this as a job, then what I would love to do ideally is take probably between 2 and 4 cruises a year. I think that that gives enough time to be able to enjoy that cruise, to be able to take time to plan that cruise, to be able to have enough distance between each cruise to still really appreciate the next cruise that you do go on. But please let me know what you think. Okay, so I have a couple more personal questions, then I'm going to answer some YouTube/business related questions, and then I'm going to be sharing with you our next cruise. What are the most popular topics on my YouTube channel? Now, I'm going to leave a list so you can see the most popular videos, at least so far, but the most popular topics in general are packing for a cruise, cruise hacks, cruise tips, things not to do on a cruise, and Amazon cruise essentials. Okay, so let's talk YouTube and finances for just a minute. Do I cruise for free? So no, we do not cruise for free. We actually pay for the majority of our cruises. And of course, my channel and the business does make money. I'll share how in just a minute, but that is how we pay for our cruises. Now, there are occasions that we are invited on press trips or media trips where we are hosted on that cruise. Of course, we always disclose that so that you are aware. And during those times, those are really working trips. We are going to different events on the cruise. We're really looking at some of the information and choosing what information is going to be good and helpful and relevant to be able to bring back, try some of the different experiences on the cruise ship. That does help us to write some of our different articles and blog posts and share information with you in upcoming videos. So is this my full-time job, and how do we make money? So yes, this is my full-time job. My husband and my son work in our business as well. Now, this was not something that we started and did overnight. I have been running this business since 2018. That started off with our website. So I have my website that does make money. The way websites make money is primarily by advertising on websites. Now, you can see that when you watch YouTube videos, you get some ads that are shown on YouTube videos. That makes money as well for the creator. In addition to that, there are affiliate revenues. Now, affiliate revenue streams include things like Amazon, include things like products that I might use and recommend. There are sponsorships or working with different brands. So both on our YouTube channel or in social media or on our website. And there are sales of my own product, the Life Well Cruise Ultimate Cruise Planner as well. Now, by the way, for anybody wondering, in a general sense, there are many different ways that different channels and different online businesses are making money, but those are some of my main revenue streams. What advice do I have for somebody just starting either on YouTube or a social media presence in 2024? Well, I do think that in 2024 and beyond perhaps, but that it is a more saturated, even competitive environment. And it doesn't mean there's not room for everybody. I think that there really is. I never see other YouTube channels as competition, because I know that the amount of people coming to YouTube to watch videos only grows exponentially, and there really is room for everybody. Plus, at the same time, very few people are going to watch only one video on one topic from one creator. So take that for what it's worth. But I do think that if you are just starting right now, it is a really good idea to hone in on a specific niche. So if you can serve up content that is not already out there on YouTube or on social media, but that people do want to see, I think that is a really good way to find your way in and to begin to serve an audience. What made me want to start this YouTube channel, and in particular, what was the push for me to create cruise vlogs? Now, we actually started off with cruise vlogs back in 2019, combined with some cruise tips as well. And the push itself was the fact that for about 18 months before that, I had a blog, I had a Facebook page, and I was already sharing a lot of information. And I genuinely thought, if I can also share what our cruise is like, that could be helpful. So that was really my push. What we did realize is we didn't much like vlogging as much as taking the whole cruise in, taking some video during the cruise, and then creating the content once we got off the cruise. So everybody is different in that way, but that just became our preference with a little bit of time. Woo, that was long. But I did have a couple of sips of my Aperol Spritz during the making of this video. So what cruise are we doing next? I am so excited because we're going somewhere that we've never been before, and it really is, I know, one of the most beautiful places in the world. We are going to Norway. We're going on a 7-day Norse Legend cruise on Holland America, Rotterdam. Now, this is a press trip and it does leave from Rotterdam. However, what we are going to do is fly in a couple days early so that we can visit Amsterdam before the cruise and then basically head over by train to Rotterdam. Now, I'm going to leave the itinerary up so you can see some of the great places that we are going to be visiting. Now, I have to admit, I cannot pronounce any of these names, but I know I've done a little bit of research and these places look absolutely stunning. I can't wait to cruise through the Norwegian fjords. Please let me know if you have done this cruise or if you've been to Norway. Please let me know any advice you have down in the comments below. And as well, please let me know any of the questions that you have about this cruise so that I can answer them in an upcoming video. Now, we are going there in about a month, and if you do see me on board the cruise, please do say hello. It's always going to be my pleasure to meet you. So thank you so much for 300,000 subscribers. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do give it a big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. And please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Bye for now, and happy cruising.